In this video, I am going to divide the following complex numbers. Division of complex numbers actually is not defined. It may sound surprising, but it is the case. It is not defined, division of complex numbers. However, we can simplify the division of complex numbers and put it in the form a plus bi, always by considering the complex conjugate of the denominator. So let's look at this guy. What is this expression? 2 plus I divided by 2 minus I. We look at the complex conjugate of 2 minus I, which by the way is going to be just 2 plus I. Remember, we change the sign in front of the imaginary part of the number. I multiply and divide by 2 plus I. Now I will have something simpler. In the denominator, a minus b is like a minus b times a plus b. So difference of squares is going to be 2 square minus I square. And on the top you can FOIL it. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times I is 2i. Then I times 2 is 2i. Then I times I is I square. Now if I simplify it further, in the denominator it's going to be 4 minus I square, but I square is negative 1, remember. So on the top I'm going to have 4 plus 2i is 4i, then I square is negative 1. Now I can just simplify it. In the bottom I have 4 plus 1 because this negative and negative is going to make it positive. And on the top 4 minus 1 is 3, then plus 4i. Then I could simplify it further. 3 plus 4i over 5, which is the same as 3 over 5 plus 4 over 5i. See, I have taken this division and converted it into the standard form of a complex number, which is a plus bi. Here a is the real part and b is the imaginary part. Remember that. Now let's go ahead and do the next one, which is b. 5i over 6 minus 5i. Again, we are going to use the same principle. We are going to look at the denominator and we are going to multiply both numerator and the denominator by the conjugate of the denominator. So what is the conjugate of 6 minus 5i? Obviously, we just switch the sign in front of the imaginary part. So it's going to be 6 plus 5i. I divide it by 6 plus 5i, I multiply it by 6 plus 5i. It's like multiplying and dividing by a number so that you can get the common denominator when you're dealing with fractions. So it's the same concept. Now using the difference of squares formula in the bottom, 6 times 6 is 36, or 6 square minus 5i whole square. It's like a minus b times a plus b. And in the numerator you just have to FOIL things. 5i times 6 is 30i, then 5i times 5i is 25i square. And in the denominator, 6 square is 36 minus 5i whole square is 25i square. And then on the top I have 30i plus 25i square, but I square is negative 1. So now I will have on the top negative 25, because 25 times negative 1 is negative 25, plus 30i. And in the bottom I'm going to have 36 minus 25 times I square, but I know that I square is negative 1, so I'm going to simplify it further. Negative 25 plus 36i divided by 36 plus 25. Now 36 plus 25 is 36, 46, 56, 61. Okay, so it's going to be 61 in the denominator, 25 plus 36i. Then I can break it down further. Negative 25 over 61 plus 36 over 61i. And that's going to be your answer to B. Now let's go ahead and do C in exactly the same way. So for C, I have 2 minus 7i divided by negative 3 plus 4i. I'm just going to multiply and divide by the conjugate, which is going to be negative 3 minus 4i divided by negative 3 minus 4i. And if I simplify the denominator using the difference of squares formula, is going to be negative 3 whole square minus 4i whole square. And in the top, I'm going to FOIL it. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Then 2 times negative 4i is negative 8i. Negative 7i times negative 3 is positive 21i. Then negative 7i times negative 4i is positive 28i square. Then in the denominator, I'm going to get 9 minus 16i square. In the numerator, it's going to be negative 6. Then these two combined is going to give me positive 13i. Then plus 28i square is going to be 28 times negative 1. Then I simplify it further. In the bottom is going to be 9 minus 16 times negative 1, because I square is negative 1. And the top is negative 6 plus 13i minus 28. Okay, because 28 times negative 1. So now negative 28 minus 6 is negative 34 plus 13i in the numerator divided by 9 plus 16, because negative 1 times negative 16 is positive 16. That's going to give me negative 34 plus 13i over 25, which I could break down further to negative 34 over 25 plus 13 over 25i. And that's your final answer. I hope that this discussion was helpful. Thank you very much.